Among the duties of the day of sacrifice is the shaving or clipping of hair. After performing these rituals such as throwing the pebbles, slaughtering the sacrifice, and shaving or clipping hair, the pilgrim has only accomplished his duties partially. However, he is allowed to do what was banned to him in the state of Ihram, except sexual intercourse is still forbidden. When the pilgrim has finished the throwing, slaughtering, and has also shaved or clipped his hair, he proceeds to Mecca to perform the Ifaada, circumambulation. But he does not stay there. He returns to Mina again. It is allowed for the pilgrim to perform the Ifaada, circumambulation at any time, even after the 3 days of Tashreeq. Only it is not agreeable to delay it from the day of sacrifice. There is no reset of the Hajj garb in its normal status. Also, there is no ramal. And when he finishes the Ifaada circumambulation, he proceeds to Sa'i, and this Sa'i is only for mutamati. However, for the Karim or Mufrid, who have already performed the Sa'i after the arrival circumambulation, these people do not have to do it again. Thus, with this Sa'i, these people become allowed to do all that was banned to them, even to have sexual relations with a wife. It is agreeable for him after that to drink some of the water of Zamzam. He should supplicate many invocations, and when he has accomplished that, he must return to Mina, to stay there for the 3 days of Tashreeq. Also remember that the sequence of the rituals, as it has been explained, is more agreeable. The days of Tashreeq. The pilgrim throws on each of the 3 days 7 pebbles against the 3 Jamrats. He collects 21 pebbles and then comes to Jamrat Shugra, the small one. It is the one next to the Mosque Khaif. He orientates himself towards the Qibla, then casts 7 pebbles one after another. He says, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest, for throwing each pebble. After that he turns his back to the Jamrat Shugra and stands facing the Qibla. He glorifies the glory of Allah and says, Allahu Akbar. Then he supplicates his invocations meditatively. He remains for a while, and then he proceeds to the second Jamrat, that is the middle one, and performs the same as the previous one. Then he remains for invocations as well, and so he continues to the last, Jamrat al-Aqaba, and performs the same, but he does not remain for invocations. Thus it is to be done for all 3 days of Tashreeq. It is conditioned for the Jamarat to be in sequence, that is, the small one, then the middle, and the big one, except for the day of sacrifice, in which he starts from the big one while flowing from Muzdalifa. It is conditioned as well to respect the amount of the pebbles, but if they happen to be incomplete inattentively, that is okay. The time of the throwing starts from the afternoon to the next dawn of that night, except the last day of the 3 days. The time of that one ends by the sunset. Sleeping or passing nights at Mina during the 3 days is an obligation. The onrush from Mina on the 12th or the 13th of Zul-Hijjah before the sunset is allowed. In this case, the pilgrim throws for the 2nd day of the 3 days, then rushes on from Mina, and he is not due to deliver blood as a sacrifice. But when he fails to leave Mina before the sunset, then he is obliged to pass the night over there. So he throws for the 3rd day. Delaying there till the 3rd day of the 3 days is the best. The farewell circumambulation. The farewell circumambulation is an obligation for the pilgrim, not the mu'tamir. It is exempt from menstruous women and women in childbed without owing any blood as a sacrifice. This farewell circumambulation is the final ritual and worshipful act of Hajj. It is not allowed for the pilgrim to remain in Mecca after the farewell circumambulation. It is wrong after the farewell circumambulation to get out of the Haram mosque backward while facing the Qubaa. This is an innovation in Islam. Thus the pilgrim has accomplished all his duties, and he should therefore thank God for allowing him to accomplish this great pilgrimage. The visit to the Prophet's mosque in Medina. When the pilgrim has accomplished all the rituals and worshipful acts of Hajj, then it is recommended for him to pay a visit to the mosque of the Prophet, peace be upon him. He undertakes the visit with an intention to get nearer to God, by taking an excursion to his mosque and by praying there. Be cautious not to undertake the journey solely to visit the tomb of the Prophet, peace be upon him, because the Prophet once said, "Journeys are to be undertaken for religious purposes, only for the mosque of al-Haram, the mosque of Jerusalem, and this mosque." On his way to Medina, the pilgrim should supplicate many invocations on the Prophet, peace be upon him, and meditate about the magnificence of Medina, recognizing that it is the best religious spot on the earth after Mecca. Reaching the mosque, he ought to allow his right leg to enter first, reciting the invocation of entering a mosque. Then he proceeds straight to the Rawda, the garden in which there is the tomb of the Prophet, peace be upon him. It is located between the home and the pulpit. There he prays 2 rakat of greeting the mosque beside the pulpit. Then he thanks God for this privilege. After that he comes to the tomb, giving his back to the Qibla, and facing the wall of the tomb, and receding or lowering his gaze in reverence and veneration of the place. He should also meditate about the reverence of the one he pays the visit to. Then he greets Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, voicelessly, saying,
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الله.
Then he greets both Abu Bakr and Omar, blessings of Allah and peace be upon them. It is not allowed to circumambulate the tomb, or to wipe oneself against it. All of that is forbidden. After that, it is recommended for the pilgrim to pay a visit to Baqee, especially on the Friday. There he says,
السلام عليكم دار قوم مؤمنين وأتاكم ما توعدون غدا مؤجلون وإنا إن شاء الله بكم لاحقون اللهم اغفر لأهل البقيع نسأل الله لنا ولكم العافية.
And it is recommended for him to visit the tombs of the martyrs of Uhud, especially on Thursday. It is recommended as well to visit the mosque of Qubaa, especially on the Saturday. The pilgrim should pray there as the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to do. He even urged to do so in his saying, "Whoever gets himself purified, then comes to the mosque, Qubaa, and prays therein, the recompense of that is equivalent to the reward of Umrah." The pilgrim should say many prayers in the mosque of the Prophet, peace be upon him, because one prayer therein equals to 1,000 prayers said in other mosques. Except the mosque of al-Haram, there it equals 100,000 prayers. A pilgrim who has performed and accomplished the Hajj should come back from there with a positive change in his life and in his faith. Whosoever got the privilege of Allah to perform Hajj with a good intention, he returns from his pilgrimage forgiven of all sins like the day he was born. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, once said, "Whoever performs Hajj to this shrine and didn't have any sexual intercourse with his wife and didn't commit sins, he would return like the day he was born."